Tonight, on Be Something Wonderful, how to have faith the Neville Goddard way. I am your host, Tom Kieran, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. I got an email this morning from one of our followers that said, Tom, this is really testing my faith. I feel a lot of fear coming in. I feel a lot of doubt. And I don't know if I can maintain the faith. What does Neville say about faith? And can you unpack this a little bit more? So guys, we're going to unpack this tonight. When Neville talks about faith, he's not talking about blind faith. Just believe me, trust me, right? He does say test it, right? But he's not talking about just have blind faith with no evidence. In fact, what he's saying is the contrary, that faith is the evidence. Hear this. He's referring to Hebrews 11:1. He's saying faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. It's the substance of your desires. It's the substance of the things that you want, right? Faith is believing that your desire exists. And that if you only believe, if you only assume the assumption, a wish fulfilled, and persist in it, that desire will be yours. Hear that, right? That's what faith is. It's the belief that your desire does exist in that dimensionally larger reality, right? And that through your imagination, through that eternal body of yours, right, your connection with that Christ within you, that God power, that if you persist in that wish fulfilled, it can be yours, right? Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. Faith is the evidence. So let's unpack it a little bit more tonight. From Hebrews 11:27, by faith he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. So what Neville uses is in Scripture, and Neville unpacks it for us. So let's unpack this right now. He says, by faith, he, who is he? That's your concept of yourself already being what you want to be, already being that higher ideal. By faith, he, you, forsook Egypt. What does Egypt represent in this case? It represents multiple causes of reality, many gods. It represents darkness. Right? There's only one causation, and that is that we're all connected by that unconditioned awareness, and that you create your own reality by that God in you, by your imagination. That's what Egypt represents, multiple causes, belief in many gods and darkness. So you forsook that. You forsook Egypt, right? You left Egypt. You abandoned Egypt. And then not fearing the wrath of the king, what's the king represent? The 3D world, the power of the outside conditions and circumstances, right? You're not fearing the wrath of the king or the 3D world or those outside conditions. And then, for you endured as seeing him who is invisible. It means that you then persisted in the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. Hear that, right? By faith, he forsook Egypt, not fearing the wrath of the king, and he endured as seeing him who is invisible. By faith, you gave up a belief in many gods, in many causes, in that darkness. And then not fearing 3D reality, not concerned or not doubting your power or giving power to outside conditions, you endured, you persisted in your wish fulfilled, and then you manifested your desire, right? Persisting in that assumption that your desire is already fulfilled, you rise above doubt, fear, and belief in the power outside conditions. So you rise above doubt and fear and any belief in a power outside of you, right? This is powerful. And when you do that, the world conforms to your assumption. And then you have what you wish for. You have that desire. You have that wish fulfilled. That's what we're talking about today. What else does Neville say? Faith is believing what is unbelievable. Hear this, right? That's what faith is. You can't even have doubt and fear and disbelief when you're in faith, right? Faith is the belief that your desire exists, and that if you assume your wish fulfilled, if you persist in that assumption, if you imagine that you already have it, if you imagine your wish fulfilled, if you think from the end and live in that assumption, then it must manifest in 3D reality. That's what faith is. Big tonight, right? What else does Neville say? We walk by faith, not by sight. What do we walk by? What is he talking about by faith? By imagination, by that power of that Christ within you. And not by sight, not by objects in the 3D world, not by things you see with your 3D, with your senses in the 3D world, right? And then of course Hebrews 11:1. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. So faith is the evidence. Faith is the assumption. That's why, and your desire does exist. That substance is your desire, right? The substance of things hoped for. The substance of those things you desire. Faith is that, believing that your desire exists, believing you already have it, believing if you persist in that assumption of wish fulfilled that it will be yours. That's what we're talking about. Faith is knowing. Neville also says that, right? Faith is knowing. It's not a question, it's knowing, right? That's why doubt, fear, disbelief cannot continue, cannot exist in the face of faith, right? So that's why, guys, you can be aware of already being it because of faith. It is the belief in the unbelievable. That is how to have faith the Neville Goddard way. I am your host, Tom Caron, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. Hit us up on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful, on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Caron, our website at tomcaron.com or BeSomethingWonderful.com, or write me anytime at info@BeSomethingWonderful.com. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, this is Tom with great love.